What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the next episode of Arena Goat Talk. I'm your host, EJ Burt. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and follow all that good stuff. On this next episode, I got Mr. Minnesota himself, Mr. Rickey Foggie. How you doing today, sir?
EJ, I'm doing good, man, and thanks for having me on.
Good, appreciate it. I always wanted to, we talked a little bit a couple of years ago when I was up there, and definitely wanted to talk a little bit more and, let everybody know your story and talk about Minnesota and arena football up there and football in
Yes, sir.
Minnesota. So let's get into your background. So, let's talk about where you're from.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Waterloo, South Carolina. It's a little small town, probably 25, 30 miles south of Greenville, so in the upper state. The youngest of 9 kids, 5 boys and 4 girls. And like I always told my sisters and brothers, my parents saved the best for last.
I go along with that. I'm the youngest of 8 boys.
Oh, yeah, you know the deal.
So, were you always a football person? Did you grow into the game? Kind of talk about, how you got into the sport.
Well, all of my siblings play sports, right? So all the boys play football, baseball, basketball. My sisters play softball and basketball. So we were a sports family. My dad knew he had to work 2 jobs. My mom had to work, so we lived in the country, and so my dad built us a park across the street from where we lived. So in that park, we had basketball, we had a softball field. We had a swing set. We had a little mini football field. And so as soon as I was able to walk, I was playing sports. I was doing something. So my first love was baseball. My Uncle Lewis was a local baseball coach of the 21 and older baseball team. And so I started playing Little League baseball probably when I was 9 or 10 years old. And then on the weekends, I would honestly, my Uncle Lewis would bring me along with him on Sunday, and I would play in the 21 and older baseball league with the grown guys when I was 10 years old. So that's when I started to mature actually as a sports person, because hanging around those guys at that age, they talked a lot of crap and probably gave me a couple beers when they shouldn't have. But it was all good. It's all life learning lessons. Um, and so I played baseball. Once I got into middle school, the YMCA league, we was playing football. We was playing basketball. We was running track. So up until my junior year in high school, I was actually wide receiver, defensive back on the football team. And then I also played baseball, also ran track, also played basketball. So my junior and senior year at Lawrence High School was the school we went to. I actually lettered in 4 sports. And my senior year, I was actually all state in 4 sports. So in 1983, we won Class 5A football championship. It was for the first for our high school team. And so that was very something that we still, talk about to the day when I go back home and get together with the guys. And so just sports in general has always been a family affair. And that was the cool thing to do. Everybody played sports back in the day. Like, that was a thing. If you didn't play sports, you was considered a little weird, but that was the cool thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So when did you get into the quarterback position and start to hone in on that?
So after my sophomore year, we was getting a new varsity football coach. And so my sophomore coach, Coach Leroy, I'll never forget him. He goes, hey, Rick, we getting this new coach coming in, and I want you to start training that quarterback. And because I was the best athlete. I wasn't the best football player on our team, but I was the best athlete pretty much in the building. right? And so he was like, we're gonna train you all summer long. I work with you every day, and I want you to be a quarterback. And I go, yeah, coach, but had a black quarterback. He goes, yeah, I know that. He goes, but the new guy don't know that coming in. And so, and it worked. It worked.
Mhm.
So my junior year, I got the starting position as quarterback at Lawrence High School. But we had this running back named Lonnie Pulley, and this guy was phenomenal. And Lonnie ends up in the South Carolina State High School Football Hall of Fame. I mean, his senior year, Lonnie ran for 3,500 yards and probably didn't play after halftime in most games. I mean, dude was legit. And so that's how most of other athletes got noticed, because all of these scouts are coming into town every week, because back in the day, they had to come see you instead of
Mhm.
watching them look online now. So they had to come see you back in the day. And so that's how we got noticed. So we got 9 of our football players and got Division I scholarships off of that 1983 team. And so, thanks to Lonnie Pulley, we all got free education.
Okay. So, was there a specific motivation for you growing up?
It was my brothers. I wanted to be just like my older brothers. They played football. When you got to high school football in our stadium, if you carried the football, you did something special. If you caught a pass, they would call your name over the loudspeaker.
Hmm.
I'm like, I want these right here. I want to be a part of this. And it was always fun, because we were from a small town. So when it was Friday night lights, like everybody was there. Like the whole town shut down except for my dad's barbershop. My dad was a barber. He was the only one that wasn't able to come to the game because, he had to provide for his kids. And so everybody from our little town was at our football games at home and on the road. And so seeing them in that green and gold uniforms, and hearing my brother's names called out over that microphone, I was like, I want to be that. I want to be that guy one day.
Wow. And you say green and gold, ain't that the fighting pike colors?
Yes, sir.
It's almost like you was destined to have a stop in with the fighting pikes.
It was meant to be. And so after high school, I had some scholarships from some Southern teams. I had an offer from University of Minnesota. I had some basketball scholarships also, but I knew I wanted to play quarterback because that was the cool position, right? And so I took a shot at Minnesota just for the fact that they said they would give me an opportunity to play quarterback. A lot of other Southern schools back in the '80s wasn't letting African Americans play quarterback at that time, and so that was my big decision, was to come to Minnesota, because they said they would give me a shot, and that's all I needed was an opportunity, and they did. And so I actually became the first quarterback in the history at University of Minnesota to be a 4-year starter. So I didn't redshirt my freshman year. I was a true freshman that started in 1984, and I held it down until '87.
How did your development process go at the quarterback position, and even just through your years of college, maturing and things like that?
I can honestly say I was prepped for it, like, right. So being the youngest, like, you seen everything, you see your brothers and siblings, you following their foot tracks. The new head coach that we got in our high school, he came from a college, Division I college. So he prepped us, not only physically but mentally, how to read defenses, what to prepare for on and off the field. I remember he had us doing TV interviews as junior, and it was like, what is this all about, right? And so now you get to a major university in a big city in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they throw you in front of a TV camera. You're like, all right, let's go. I already done this. And so, right. So I think I was prepped for it in a lot of ways, by my siblings, my parents, and coaching. Um, my freshman year here at the University of Minnesota I was under Coach Lou Holtz, who's college Hall of Famer. He was here for 2 years and took off and went to Notre Dame and won a national championship there. And so, under his tutelage for 2 years, he taught me a lot about football, on and off the field. So I just think I was surrounded by a group of great people and who led me down the right road.
Hmm. Okay, so going through college, now you're getting to your senior year and you're looking at your pro prospects. Uh, Talk about that whole process and transition into professional sports.
Yeah, so I was never like the guy to say like, hey, I'm NFL. I got to go to the league. I want to go to the NFL. When I was playing college football, it was fun. Like we ran the option. I had the ball the majority of the time in my hand. And so, I was having a blast. And then to come to my senior year, it's like, okay, this college thing is coming to an end. Now I'm getting interested in the NFL. Right. And so after my senior year was done, the NFL teams was coming in and working us out. And, I ran the 4.39, 4.41. So I was fast. And so, and these cats was like, can you catch? I'm like, yeah, I can catch. Of course I can. Yeah. I'm an athlete. Can you backpedal? I'm like, okay, now I see where you're going with this. And
Wait a minute.
so, yeah. And so I looked around for other leagues, other kind of opportunities, and I seen a couple of CFL, Canadian Football League games. And I seen some brothers, Warren Moon, Damon Allen, Tracy Ham. They was up there playing in the Canadian Football League. I'm like, hey, these cats look like me. They
Hmm.
was athletic, they could run, they could throw, and it was a big field. And so I took a liking to that. And the NFL draft went by in April. I didn't get chosen. I was like, I'm going to the CFL, and so it was a blessing because I was able to play 10 years in Canadian Football League. I got to meet John Candy, one of the Canadians' greatest actors. He was part owner of our 1991 Toronto organized team. I had a good fortune to play with Rocket Ismail, who was the Heisman Trophy winner of that Notre Dame team. He was also coached by Coach Holtz. We won two Grey Cups, which is equivalent to the Super Bowl in the NFL. 91 with the Toronto Argonauts, and then in 93 with the Edmonton Eskimos. And just a plethora of friends and teammates that I'm still brothers with today. I definitely don't regret that decision.
So after your successful career in the CFL, how did the AFL get introduced to you?
I wanted to come back home, right? I wanted to come back to the States, that I wanted to come back. And I was like, they're going to be in Minnesota? Like, this is like my second home. So it was perfect, right? So the pipe came into fruition. Uh, I can't remember the head coach name, but he was actually from Saskatchewan. So he was a Canadian League coach.
Oh, okay.
Um, I can't call his name right off the bat, but I was like, this is great, right? And so we was playing in the Target Center downtown Minneapolis. Um, I really couldn't believe it was happening until we went to practice training camp. And, it was the most unorganized thing I ever seen in my life. But it was fun. It was fun. Coach Yock. It was Coach Yock from the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. That was his name, Coach Yock. Coach Yock told me the first day, Coach, he goes, Rickey, I want you to be the leader of my football team. And when you get here, I want you to practice. I'm like, what time is practice? He goes, whatever time you get here.
Wow.
But little did he know that we had Jeff Lutz was on that team also, and Jeff had played in the arena before me. So Jeff actually started like the first 4 or 5 games, and Jeff was the one who helped me get acclimated to the Arena Football League. because I was coming from playing in that big field. It was 120 yards long, 63 yards wide, and I was throwing heaters. I was breaking guys' fingers throwing on a hitch. So I had to learn to, tone it down a little bit. Um, Learn the pace of the game. It was faster. Get the ball out of your hand. But I could still, still run, not as far, but I could still use my athletic ability. And so, in that Pike season, we started off 0-6, 0-7, something like that, but we ended up winning our last 5 games in a row. And so, I'll never forget it. Our last game was at Memphis. I know I drove from Minneapolis to Memphis because that was going to be the last game, and I was going to drive home to Charlotte, North Carolina. And the guys was like, "Did you get your check?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? Did I get my check?" They was like, "Well, we got our check and went to the bank and wasn't no money in there." And so we didn't get paid for our last game. The checks bounced.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. And so um I got you some video evidence of your time playing. So kind of like talk about, your mentality as a player and things that you were trying to accomplish in the arena game.
Oh, I was known as a gunslinger. And so, like I said, coming from that big field, I had to kind of tone back my mid-range game, but to push the ball down the field and be aggressive, that was my thing. I figured if you don't stand on the field long enough, you won't get hurt. So the quicker I can score, the better off we're gonna be. And so that
Mm-hmm.
was, like, seriously, that was my whole mentality. And so we wanted to be aggressive with the ball. I had Alvin Ashley, uh, who was one of Arena League legends for sure. He was on our team, and so like I say, it was a team that there he is right there.
Mm-hmm.
So that dude could score touchdowns, and so he made life a little easier for me.
Mm-hmm. And so kind of speak on how did the city embrace you guys as far as the arena league and the team up there, and you guys as players in the organization.
Oh, that was great. I mean, we played in the Target Center, and people didn't realize this, but we had a hot tub in our arena, and it was filled with let's say entertainers,
Mm-hmm.
and the entertainers was ladies. So we packed out. I mean, it was seriously. I think that's just that the fact that our ownership didn't take this game as seriously as he should have. We had a blast. The city had a blast. It was fun while it lasted, and they knew me from playing from the Gophers. So I had like my own little crowd following me around, right? And so, no, they took a liking to us. I think we put on a good show for them, and it was just unfortunate that the owner didn't have enough money to sustain the team.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so after your time there, kind of speak on your arena journey. Can you still there? So can you speak to your arena journey
Oh
after
yeah,
the time with the Pikes?
yeah. I fell in love with the game, to be honest. I kind of figured out that I wanted to continue playing. And so I got a call from the New Jersey Red Dogs. John Huffnagel was the head coach. Frank Hagee was the defensive coordinator. And I knew Frank from Minnesota because we had coached together at Augsburg College. And so they brought me out there. They had Aaron Garcia, who's also another big time arena guy. AG was the starting quarterback, so I was going to back him up. And so I think I was in New Jersey for 4 years, and Aaron got banged up a little bit, and then I became the starter. And I think Aaron went to somewhere. I'm not sure where he went. So I ended up starting for 2 years in New Jersey, and then Coach Hoffman never left, I think he left and went to the Giants. He went to the Giants as their offense coordinator, and so they kind of had a new regime coming in. They brought in I can't remember the quarterback's name, but he played in the NFL, and they wanted him to be the starter, so he can prove to the NFL that he can get another shot. Tommy, can't think of it, but he played with us the first 7 games, and he couldn't get a hold of it. So I ended up starting the last 6 games and went 6-0 as a starter. And so that caught the eye of the Bobcats, the Florida Bobcats. And so Coach Dave Ewert was down there. So I went down with the Bobcats and played with them for 2 years. And South Florida's nice.
I already know. Not too far
Right.
from me right now.
Right. So I brought my guy Matthew Steeple with me. I told him if Steeple can't be my center, I ain't coming. And so they signed Steeple also. And we had a lot of fun. South Florida was nice, but it just wasn't Arena League city, right? And so then nobody wants to come sit indoors on South Florida in June and July. And so that didn't work out for us. And so then I kind of bounced a little bit. I went to up there. I went and played in Detroit with the Fury. That didn't work out. And then I went and played with the Toronto Phantom. That only lasted a year. And so I played up there for that year. And then after that was done, I was 38, and I kind of looked around and see if I could catch on anywhere, and couldn't wasn't nobody biting on the old man at that time. And so I talked with Jerry Curse and got into Arena 2 football coaching. So I went out to Everett, Washington, and was the head coach out there. I brought Matthew Steeple with me out there. He was my D coordinator, and that's probably my worst experience ever in football. The owner wanted to be the owner. He wanted to be the head coach. He wanted to be the water boy. He wanted to be everybody. And so I left there midway during the season. Steeple stayed the rest of the season. So I left there 8 games in, and I went to South Albany with Coach Derek Stingley. And so Sting brought me in as the offensive coordinator down in Macon. So we was there for 2 seasons, and then I went to Kansas City Brigade in Arena 1. And so I was there as the offensive coordinator, and Coach Porter, good man. He's definitely a good man. I think he had the NFL mentality about the coaching, the meetings, and the practice. He didn't understand that, okay, arena football, you could be done in 3 hours, tops, with watching film, practice, even go back and watch the practice film. But we was there from 6 in the morning to 6 in the evening. Unheard of. Like that's just too much. And so after the season, I met with him and told him, thanks, but no thanks. And so I came back to Minnesota and started coaching high school football. So I was head coach for 8 years, quarterback coach for another 4 years. And so stopped coaching about 2 years ago. And so today I work for Lifetime Fitness, which is a big fitness chain around the U.S. It originated here in Minnesota. I play as much golf as possible as I can, probably 2 to 3 days a week. And then I do a little Uber and Lyft driving, probably 10 to 12 hours a week. I really like that job. I really like driving. I really like talking to people, meeting new people. And now it's the fall. We get to go to the Gopher football games. And we playing tonight here. We got Nebraska Cornhuskers coming in town tonight.
Any highs and lows and lessons that you've learned through your years of playing arena football?
Man, it's just the fact that somebody wants to pay you to play, right? And we didn't get the big money, and Adam, it's is what it is because you get to play with so many cool guys. I mean, it's football is a life bonding sport. Not only is it's a team bonding sport, it's a life bonding because you stay in contact with so many guys that you played with because you go into battle with these guys and you get to know these guys, you get to know their families, you get to know their kids, and so you hang out together, right? And so I think the highs is just having the opportunity to play. I never won a championship in arena football because when we played, there was some bad dudes in the league. We had to go play Eddie Brown up in Albany twice a year, and we had to play Orlando. We had to play Tampa. We had to play Arizona. I mean, there was some dudes in this league, man, that should have been in the NFL easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was such a competitive game, and just competing with these guys at a high level. It was all my highs for me, and I don't think I really had any lows. I didn't get hurt playing arena football. I didn't get injured, so that wasn't anything I worried about. I really don't. I can't really say I had any lows in arena football. I think the only low was I had to stop playing because I got old, right? And so, but that's just father times. I feel really fortunate from where I came from, where I grew up at as a young kid in such a small town, to be able to go out and get these opportunities to travel, to see these different cities that I didn't have to pay for, right? We get to go out, hang out with your teammates. And so everything about arena football was positive. And just the fact that it gave me an opportunity to do and go see places that otherwise I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. Like I was from a small town. So everything was like gravy to me. So I appreciated everything that I got. I appreciate my teammates, the owners, the coaches. Everything was good. I don't think there was anything bad about it. The only thing I hate that it went away, like it disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, um, any advice that you would give to people who don't, they're at the crossroads of playing, they don't understand, you already kind of spoke on it, in regards to your story, but any advice you give to players that were on the fence of playing arena football or, extending their careers or, things like that?
The advice that I have, and this is what I hung my hat on, is never give up. Like if you want to play, like play. Like that was my whole mentality since I was a little kid. I just wanted to play sports, and I wanted to play football as long as possible. So I worked out. I stayed after practice. I watched film. I studied harder than anybody else. I was prepared mentally and I was prepared physically. And because I wanted to play. If there's somebody was going to pay me to play, I was going to play as long as possible. And then they told me to get my old butt out the league. So that's what I did.
All right, so don't want to hold you up too much longer, but I appreciate you coming on, sharing your story. Because one thing I love about doing this podcast is so many angles that this story of arena football can be told from, and
Hmm.
I couldn't think of anybody else, from that Minnesota region, that could speak to that experience, that environment like you. So I wanted to definitely get you on to kind of tell that story from that angle.
No, I appreciate it, man. EJ, it's one of those deals that I think we all was fortunate to be able to, like, seriously at that time to have another avenue to continue playing because, as you know, there's only so many positions in the NFL, right? And so we were blessed. I mean, I'm not kidding. I talked to people about arena football in the '90s and early 2000s, and they're like, "Man, we was glued to the TV." Like there were, I mean, I was amazed at how big Cedric Bonner was when I seen him in person. And I'm going, I got to go compete against this guy. but that was the fun part of it, though, right? So it was something that it's part of history in my career. Honestly, I never forget. Uh, and it's disappointing that the Pike didn't last. But playing in New Jersey, man, and playing against going to Albany and playing there, going down to Tampa and playing in front of that crowd in Orlando, electrifying.
Okay. All right. Well, again, appreciate you coming on, and um, definitely we'll stay in touch. And if I can do anything for you, let me know. I'd love to get you back on. And one of the next steps I want to do is be able to connect the young generation of players with the OGs. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yes
So you can
sir.
share stories and kind of compare. You know what I mean? Enjoy your experience, young man, because think about looking at arena football from this angle. You know what I mean? There's so many
Yeah.
angles that this game can be told and shared from, and I'd love to get you back on so you can share your knowledge with the young guys.
Hey EJ, thanks for having me on, man, and I would love to do it.
Definitely appreciate you. All right, so we're going to sign off, but again, appreciate you coming on, and definitely be in touch.
Yes, sir.
All right.